Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from Eduard. It's a resin set in 1/48 scale, and it actually copies a Cockpit for Tempest Mk.II, and you can notice that it's written here that it should be handy not only with Eduard kit but also with special hobby kit, because this Tempest was developed together with special hobby, and there will be a special hobby box and it should be already available actually, so that's why it's written like that, so that you won't be confused. But nevertheless, we have a commercial sample here, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you'll see in this video review, and we are going to open it in this video and check what is actually supplied in this tiny small box. Well, the overall package design is standard for resin, there is no surprising things, so as you can see, it's a nice cardboard box with a 3D picture here. Kit number is 648639, and here on the side we have a barcode and price of this kit, so it's $45 US, and here you can see address of the manufacturer and that it is best brass around and resin. Here, by the way, we have some safety advices. As usual, everything is sealed with tape, so I just need to find my knife. I just saw it somewhere, so here it is. And we will cut through it and check what is actually supplied here. So, okay. So what do we have here? It's a top opening box, and here is what we have inside. As you can see, plenty of parts. I think they are separated into several bags, so that's why we will be checking them one by one, and then we will also take a look at the assembly manual. So here we have quite interesting things, and I think it will be worth to put them all at once onto the table. Maybe I'll place the sticker like this so that you don't forget which channel you are watching. So we are going to start with instrument panel part. Here it is. It comes as a small element here. Well, that's a 1/48 scale set, so don't be surprised by the size, and still assembled model of this aircraft should be quite huge. By the way, pilot seat deserves to be looked at in a bit more zoomed in way, because as you can see, there are a lot of features implemented in this part, even though its size is not that huge. So here you can compare it with two previous elements I already put on the table. Next we continue. It's surprising that we also get an oil tank here. So here you can see it, it casted as a single piece part, but still it's, I would say, rather unusual to get such element in the cockpit set. Next we continue with more minor elements here and there. So as you can see, they are casted out of several resin colors, not only out of dark resin. So it doesn't mean anything. I mean, just to point the small difference. Next we continue with small support for rudder pedals. Again, I think it's worth showing it on my fingers, because otherwise it's really tiny part. So here you can take a look, and I will place it here. Next we continue with instrument panel with let's say, molded dials, and it's really beautiful part. I think there will be a decal with dials for this element because it looks gorgeous, and I think that's the option I would choose if I will be building this kit. Next we continue with cockpit floor parts. So here is another one. Next we have some minor elements for side panels, and here we have quite an interesting thing. While original, let's say, plastic kit or Profi pack, it copies this control handles with P parts, here we have them pre-molded, so they come as a single piece part together with the side console. Next we continue with more thin parts. I'll place them here. Oops, my big fingers. Okay, so here they are. And next we have two quite interesting parts, and I think it will be really tricky to get them off the base. I mean, not tricky, but it will be a tedious process to do so, because here you can check it closer. So it's a thin frame just like in the plastic kit, and note the amount of the attachment points to the casting block. I mean, it won't be a walk in the park, let's say, so be ready for that, and definitely special tools will be good for that, because second part or second side is also designed in the same way, so you can imagine how many things you have to clean up in order to get a nice finished look on your model. But other than that, I'm really impressed with the amount of features copied here, and that's just the first portion of parts, because we will have more in the next plastic bag. So just give me a second, I will open it as well. And second plastic bag is more concerned, let's say, with thin parts. I can see that they're all thin and small and really tender, and that's where you will have to use your own modeling skills in order to keep everything intact. So I will place this part here maybe. Next we continue with one more panel, and frankly speaking, I'm not even sure where these parts will be used. So for example, this part is interesting because, as you can see, it features the panel and it features this subframe pre-molded from the opposite side, and these parts are so thin that they're almost translucent. That's one of the benefits of resin parts, obviously. Next we continue with various thin elements here. Okay, what else do we have here? So one more part with various thin parts. Well, not, it's a one more resin casting block with thin parts, and as far as you can see, all these parts will be actually control elements for the cockpit, but it's really surprising that all of them are copied as a single parts. They're not pre-casted on the cockpit elements. So it means it will require some work in order to get everything into the right spot. But I mean, for example, here you can see the control stick, and note how precise is this molding quality. So it looks really great. But of course it will also require due care, because you saw with your own eyes how thin these parts are. Next we continue with the cockpit wall here. I will place it just like that. It looks like a horseshoe. Next we continue with another frame, so I will place it like that. Oops, you do not see it, so I guess I should zoom out a bit. Next we have another part for the cockpit floor, as far as I remember. But no worries, we'll check everything a bit more detailed way in the assembly manual. So here, for example, we have a rear armor wall for the cockpit, which will be placed right behind the pilot seat. One more thing is, again, various control elements which will be placed on the cockpit walls, as far as you can see. So I will place it here. Next, we continue with thin parts, again, for various control elements. So here they are. Again, thin part. I mean, amount of thin parts is really impressive here, and that just hints that today's kit is not for beginners. I mean, you should be, I would say, sober and evaluate your skills, not overestimate them, so that you can get a nice result out of this kit, because otherwise you might end up with a really difficult thing to do. And I mean, that's not an, let's say, overestimation of this kit, because you can see there are a lot of thin parts. Now we have second portion of the parts laid out on our table, and you can see how many of them will require special tools, will require some time in order to apply them into the right spot. So this is definitely not a weekend kit which you can assemble in matter of 2 days of the weekend. Next we continue with decals. So as you remember, I said that I hope that there will be decal sheet, so here it is. We have here all the necessary dials for instrument panel, also some stencils, which is also quite nice touch. But that's not all, because there is also a small PE thread with transparent film. So here we have seat belts, and here we have this film, and all these parts will be obviously useful for fine features in your cockpit. And from what I can see here, the parts count is really impressive just for the cockpit, so maybe it would be worth showing it somehow in a bit more effective way than just opening the cockpit, because otherwise it would be a shame to hide all these features. And just to give you an idea how many parts are there, here on the assembly manual we have a small parts map with all parts laid out, which is quite nice touch. Next we continue with assembly manual, and these resin sets are famous for their, let's say, special assembly manual layout, so you have to look at it like that by removing the middle section. So everything begins with the side walls. As you can see, there are a lot of parts to attach, so be ready for that. It won't be, as I said, an easy task, but it will be a rewarding task. Next we continue with the cockpit floor. Again, a lot of thin parts to be attached, control stick as well. And here, so here is the first step. You assemble the cockpit frame, you assemble them together. As you can see, again, a lot of parts to be connected together, so do not forget that for resin parts you have to use the CA glue, because otherwise they won't just stick together. Next we have another step. So here we install, first we assemble and then install the pilot seat and also various rear walls. By the way, that this part which we saw before. Next we continue with instrument panel, also this oil tank. And everything looks cool. I am quite happy to see that decals are included, but note that still you have to paint some minor things on the instrument panel. Next we continue with the target side, and for target side you will have to use your own wire in order to replicate, well, wiring. So here you can see it, and then it gets installed into the cockpit. You also install various minor features on the fuselage walls. And here you can see the final steps of the installation. So there are also some PE parts to be applied on the pilot seat, and that's pretty much all. By the way, the cockpit is directly compatible with original plastic parts, so you don't have to modify anything, and that's also quite a valuable feature of today's set. And it should be already available, so you can get it together with a plastic kit. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about such release. Do not forget to write it in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye!